Welcome back. We are pleased to be joined by Marilou Halvorsen, who's president of the New Jersey Restaurant and Hospitality Association. Marilou, good to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're taping on the 16th of June. The greatest impact on the restaurant industry, we'll talk about hospitality in a minute, has been
Everything.
everything.
It's obviously financial, it's job loss. You know, it, we are the economic engine. We're the state's largest private sector employer, employing about 350,000 jobs, not counting hotels. So those are a lot of our New Jersey residents that if once we can open up the restaurants, they'll go back to work.
And again, because we're taping on the 16th, decisions will be made, changes here and there, outside, inside. We don't know as we speak when people can eat inside a restaurant. But for those who say, you know what, it's safer outside, let's just do that. That sounds great on paper. What's the problem with the execution of that for restaurants to survive and thrive?
Well, it's it's not really easier and it's not just necessarily safer, right? So other than healthcare, restaurants do sanitation every day, all day. It's already ingrained in our normal practices. So why, when you come to a restaurant, you know that everything has been cleaned and sanitized.
But hold on one second. But it is safer. Every public health expert that we've heard said it's safer to be outside than inside. So there's something to be said about that.
Well, it depends what the distancing is. It depends what the sanitation protocols of where you're sitting. So if you're sitting down and you're, proper social distancing and that table's been cleaned and sanitized and you have disposable menus and your condiments have been clean and it's a completely sanitized environment, then that is not as safe as when you have a bunch of people sitting outside at a picnic table crammed together that, are not from the same family. So it's easy to say that, but that does not necessarily mean it's true.
What I'm curious about, Marilou, is there's so many, I was saying this before we got on the air, we happen to live in Montclair, New Jersey. There are so many restaurants that we count on beyond the home cooking that goes on, which can be tough with working moms and dads, remote or not. They're the lifeblood for us to be able to eat dinner when we do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. It's
The
where
takeout piece of this is big, but you put it all together. Who winds up surviving and who doesn't in this? Are there certain keys to that?
And that is a great point because, as I've said often, right now we are how many months into this?
As we
And
do this, going on 3.5.
okay, so we're about 3.5 months in. Approximately about 20% has been calculated by the National Restaurant Association that small independent restaurants will not come back. And those are your community restaurants, then your neighborhood restaurant that you like to go to. It's not the large chains. It's the ones that don't have the access to cash. One of the best things about the culinary atmosphere in New Jersey is the small, ethnically diverse restaurants. I mean, you can go anywhere in New Jersey and get any kind of food you want.
Right.
And that's at risk because those people don't have access to capital.
And so let me ask you, the government's making these policies, okay? You've been advocating on behalf of the Restaurant Association, hospitality piece of it. I'm curious, define hospitality.
Well, hospitality is anywhere where you're a guest and someone welcomes you into their business. So it's pretty broad. But in our sense, for our association, it's restaurants of all shapes, sizes, it's hotels. And we also have a lot of amusement parks that are members of our association. So it's pretty broad. It's, really anything under the quote unquote hospitality. But primarily we're restaurants, but we do have a lot of hotel members and some amusement parks.
Go back to the question of employment. This is so interesting because there's an economic impact of this. There are, how many employees are we talking about again?
So just for restaurants, it's about 350,000. When you add hotels, it's about another 150,000. So that's a lot of people. That's 500,000 people in the industry. That's why we are the state's largest private sector employer.
But the other part of it that's complicating and complicated is that if someone went on unemployment early on because a restaurant wasn't open and they couldn't employ them, couldn't pay them, is it tough for some of these restaurants because the unemployment benefits were expanded, they were extended, that for some, it doesn't make sense for some workers um, to be to go back. You see what I'm saying? The economic
Oh,
incentive.
yeah, and obviously that was needed because we're in unprecedented times and we don't know how long that this was going to last. But as we see restaurants start to reopen, and we do know that the extra federal unemployment is going to be coming to an end, I believe, unless they extend it. Um, but it has been an issue. It certainly has, because you have a couple things. It's not, again, not so cut and dry. You have childcare issues.
That's
So
right.
a lot of moms and dads who want to come back, not just to the restaurant and hotel industry, but to a lot of other industries, are struggling with what to do with their children. And of course the unemployment. So, you may be more comfortable staying at home. But I have been talking to my members, and since they've closed, they've kept in contact with their employees, and they're really pleased that a lot of them are anxious to come back.
Yeah. Well, we'll monitor the situation. Again, we're taping on the 16th. On the 15th of June, a decision was made that opened up outside. We'll see what happens on the inside, what the capacity is, when that happens, how it happens. But I want to thank Marilou Halvorsen, who's president of the New Jersey Restaurant and Hospital Association. Marilou, all the best. Thanks so much.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Fidelco Group, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Investors Bank, Gibbons PC, PSC&G, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, and by the Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and by AM 970 The Answer.